Hey everybody, Nigel here, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I've got yet another review for you, and this time it's the upgrade set from Ware in the Czech Republic, and this is the address. This is Tom, and he only sent this on Monday, and today is Friday May the 10th 2019, so I'm really chuffed to get this and get a video out to you before the weekend. As you can see, box is totally sealed, so I haven't looked inside yet, but I know I'm going to like what I see. This is a hell of an upgrade set. I believe it's something like 200 parts with resin and Photo-Etch. So I know you like to see boxes open fresh, everybody does. So let's get in here and see what's in. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if inside here is going to be a load of parts loose in the box, or if it's going to be, always be careful guys, or if it's going to be another box within the box. So yeah, always be careful when you're cutting with the tape on the top. Always lift the cardboard up and then just gently cut through the tape. Don't go ploughing in because you don't know what's underneath. And, always cut the boxes open carefully, then if you need to send it all back then you can. And what we've got here is a box within a box, and we've got Lidl stuff here. Look, we could get stuff from Lidl. Lidl in the Czech Republic. I bet they're cheaper than they are in the UK. Right, so what have we got in here? So this is the box it's coming in. As you can see on here, it's roughly, what's that, 5, 10, it's about 14 centimeters wide, and what's that, 5, 10, 15, 20, 22 centimeters long. So it's a fairly decent sized box, and it says on here, used together with 196 Apollo Saturn 5 from Revell, and a set of decal sheets for Saturn 5 for etc. Ware NWD001. I think that set is actually included in here now. So what have we got on the side of the box? The construction kit contains conversion parts for the Saturn 5 model. We've got 79 resin parts and 214 PE. Now I think that's actually incorrect. I think it's 214 total. I think it's 150 something PE, we'll see. It could be that there's 150 something usable and then you get a load of spares. I don't know until we look inside. And then this is where it's come from, and this is the address if you want to look up or just do a search on Google for Ware. He does one hell of a lot of stuff, and as some of you will know, I've just ordered the 1/32 scale upgrade sets from him for the CSM from Revell, and yeah, really nice. And he's come back to me and said he's so busy with all the Apollo stuff at the moment that it's going to be a sort of 10-day wait before it gets sent out, so something worth bearing in mind. So this box isn't actually taped closed, so we can get this open without doing any video editing, which is cool. It's a very tight fitting lid and lovely packaging. Very pleased with that. So we've got some, it is beautifully packaged and nothing is damaged, so that's really nice. So we've got a bag here of resin parts, and they're all still on their mold plugs, which are nice. And yeah, it looks very beautifully detailed. Those fins look really nice, but we'll look at those closely in a minute. And then we've got the mounting plate for our engines. If someone can tell me what this is called, I'd like to know. Is it the stage 1 base, or is it the mounting plate, or is it the engine bulkhead, or what is it called? And then we've got these. Apparently they're incorrect on the kit, so he's included these. I'm not exactly sure until I look what's incorrect about them, but they're very nice and they're very thin around the bottom edge. So that's those 4 there. And always treat your resin with a bit of care. It's not it's a little brittle compared to plastic. And I had a message yesterday. Somebody asked, I forget your name, I'm sorry chap, but somebody asked if I would consider doing some work with resin on my channel because they'd love to see it. Here you go. And then we've got a bag here with some Photo-Etch in. So there's 2 sheets of Photo-Etch there. These, I know these are all the radiators for the command service module, so you can upgrade that. So as you know from my video yesterday, I've got the Real Space one, which is all cast in resin beautifully. So what I may well do is use all this on the kit parts and have the display on its own. I'd like to see how that works out. The only trouble is you have to use the little rocket motors that I can't remember what it's called now, but the little motors they use to tumble it and align it and everything. You have to use those from the Revell kit, so I'll have to probably make a casting of them or something. So there we go. We've got the instructions there, which is nice. Then we've got a CD-ROM, or CD should I say, which is going to have a load of images on it, maybe some instructions or whatever. We'll have a look. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then we've got a beautiful sheet of decals, and this is NWD006. So this has probably replaced NWD001. So on the front of the box, if you remember, it says it's designed to be used with the set of decals. They're already there. They're in this set. They didn't used to be included in it, but here we go. It's telling us just basically where we can get drawings from and stuff. And you can make from this set of decals, you can make all of those Apollo missions. I'll be doing 13 definitely, because that's the one I saw go. And please don't anybody say, why are you doing 13? That was a failure. As I've said before, if you consider sending 3 men into moon orbit, around in a moon orbit in a lame spacecraft, and bringing them all back without as much as a scratch, then if you consider that a failure, then good for you. So we've got our instructions here. It's basically 2 sheets of A4, double-sided, very, very clear, very, very informative, and it's showing us about how to fold and everything here. So if you are getting this kit and you're not an experienced modeler with Photo-Etch and everything, just make sure you read through this thoroughly before you even open any of these bags. Folding Photo-Etch is not difficult. I will show you how, and I've also already done some videos that you can see. But just bear one thing in mind: it's brass. It doesn't like to be folded back. So if you fold it the wrong way, it's likely when you try and fold it back, it may well snap. You can anneal it and make things better for yourself, and I'll show you that as well when we come to it. But yeah, absolutely stunned I am with this. I'm really happy with this setup. So let me get these bags open, and then we'll have a look at what's in here. Okay then guys, I've got all the resin parts laid out here, as you can see, and I've had I won't say a quick look, a good look through the instructions and the kit instructions, and trying to make all this sort of work out in my mind. This is definitely not a set for the absolute beginner. You will need some experience of using resin, although I will be doing this build in a video, so you'll see basically how it goes together. It's not always 100% clear what is what, unless you know your Apollo Saturn V's off by heart. I don't. So for example, in the instructions it shows you that on these fairings here you fit 4 of part 2, R2, and I've been looking for something like, something like this, like these resin parts here that go down there. Of course it's the fins. This is R2, and nothing is numbered. Well, a few of the parts are numbered, like here. There's a couple of bits which are numbered on the pour blocks, but not all of them. Like you can see here, you've got numbers on those, but like there's nothing on these, there's nothing on these. Though there is something on there actually, sorry, but a lot of it there's no numbers, so you have to sort of know what it is you're looking at, and be careful you don't get caught out. But there's a CD in the set, as I said, and there's 61, I think, or 62 images on there, and they all pretty well show you where all this goes. So, and then when you actually look at the instructions, and you can look at it with the kit instructions as well, because what Tom's done, he's actually, this is Revell part 2, this is Revell part 13, so it all becomes quite clear where it all goes when you actually look at it. Personally, I prefer this, If you look at something like Aries or Edard Brassin, the resin, it's very, very laid out and sort of done for you, very Tamiya-esque. Everything is sort of, you know, cut this off here, cut that out there, glue that on there, job done. This, you really have to sort of look at it and look at what you're doing. It's model making. It's something I thoroughly enjoy, rather than just having like a, you know, it's like a comparison of an old Revell kit compared to a brand new Tamiya kit. You know, one's a bit of a pig to get together, and the other one just falls together as soon as you look at it. So, you know, this set is without doubt worth the money, without doubt. And you can see that it's been done with a lot of passion, a lot of thought, a lot of care. It's really, really nice. There's a lot of extra parts, like for instance these parts here. You use 4 of those and they've given you 5. You need 4 of these and they've given you 5, and I'm sure that's true going through it all. So let's start looking at the parts in detail. I've got the Revell sprue here, which is basically what we're concerned with. Is this, I won't be using the stand. These are the conduits that run up the side. There's actually Photo-Etch that replaces these, or goes over them, should I say. So basically, let's have a look. We've got these shrouds over the F1 engines at the bottom end of stage 1, and you've got these resin replacements, and you can see straight away that there's a difference in the ribbing. So that's obviously that's one thing. You don't have these steps here, so obviously they're incorrect. These don't have the cutouts in the side. These do, for some Photo-Etch grills to come in. These are much thinner and don't have all this awful ejector pin marks and everything on the inside. So these are a marked improvement over the kit parts, both in accuracy and finesse. And then we've got these fins, which in the Revell kit, as you can see, they're absolutely plastered in sink marks. If you look on here, if I catch it in the light, you can see it's covered in sink marks. You can see the swirl marks in there where the moulding's been done. And again on this side, you know, loads and loads of sink marks. It's awful. So basically you can cut that half of the sprue off and throw it away, because what you're getting with the resin is this. And you can see, if I can catch the detail in the light, you can see you've got a lot of rivet detail on there, and they're beautifully moulded or cast. There we go, you can see the rivet detail on there now, and they're really, really nice, really, really nicely done. So nice fine paint and primer on there, and they'll really, really pop. Give it a black wash, and they'll, you know, or a dark grey wash if it's black, and they'll really, really pop out. So then we can move on to this part here, which is the base engine mounting platform. I don't know what it's called, but basically you've got the that there, which replaces the kit part. The kit part is here, and here's the resin. I can only assume that this is all incorrect, these cutouts here and these bits, because Tom hasn't put them on his part. So one can only assume that all that is incorrect, but it has got some nice rivet detail on the kit part. This doesn't, so I don't know quite what's going on here, but if you want the rivet detail, I guess you could easily add it. And these outer legs here, where the fairings go, they're included with these parts, these resin parts here. So that's all good. And then basically going through the rest of it, we've got our motor mount, or the motor shroud, engine shroud should I say, for the stage 2. And then we've got some other fairings and bits and pieces going all over around. We've got our umbilical connections, which we've also got the Photo-Etch. We've got all these parts here. I believe these go around the all around the stage 2 engines. We've got our ullage motors here. We've got some fairings here. These are the ullage motors that go on the Interstage, the section between stage 1 and 2. And it says in the instructions there are none from Apollo 15 on, I think, and 4 on the rest of them. Now I know the kit includes 8, so I need to do some research and see what's going on there, but I tend to believe Tom more than I do what Revell did. So it could have been there were 8 on the original development. I know there's certainly 8 of them on the on the Revell 1/44 kit, and if you notice I questioned that, and then when I went and looked online there were 8, so I don't know quite why there's only 4 in here. I need to look into that. We've got this part here which I haven't actually fathomed out what it is. It's obviously some sort of conduit, and then we've got some other fairings. There's our umbilical cover there for the command service module to the command module, and I believe these are some umbilical connections. As I say, if I'm getting things wrong, I'm sorry guys, I haven't had the time to actually look into this in depth, but obviously as you build you learn, and that's what makes sets like this so much fun, is when you don't actually know the subject 100%. As you are building, you are learning, and we all know that learning is fun. We enjoy, if it's a subject you're interested in, learning about it is really enjoyable, and that's what I'll be doing with this. So, you know, as I say, the photo album on CD, 61 or 62 pictures, all showing where all of this goes, how it should look, how it should be painted, and yeah, really pleased with this. So I'm going to get these resin parts put back in their bag carefully now, and then we'll have a look at the Photo-Etch. Just one point before I finish packing this away. You can see here the parts, the smaller parts, are on these beautifully thin backing layers, so you can literally sort of almost snap the outer away and then just quick run around the edge with a sanding stick, and they'll be beautifully cleaned up. So it's so nice to see this, because sometimes some manufacturers will put small parts like this on a pouring block like that, and then you've got to try and kind of cut them off without cutting into them and everything, and it can be quite difficult. But when they're actually like this, you can just literally snap the resin away and end up with the part left behind. And if you've got a bit of an edge on there, you can just, as I say, with a sanding stick, just take that edge off, and yeah, job done. Or you can go around with a knife, or the other option is to get them on a sanding stick or on a sanding pad and just gently rub away, keep an even pressure on until they just come away and the back will disappear. But literally that backing is a couple of thou thick. So nice one, Tom. Really nice to see you've done it that way. And one other thing I should have commented on as well, this has come from the Czech Republic, as you know, to the UK, and not a single part is broken. So that's really nice. There is one part in there, one tiny little fairing has broken off the block and left one tiny end of the part on the block, but there's 5 of them and you need 4. So one part is broken, if you call it broken, and you don't need it anyway. So yeah, nice one, really good. And then this is the beauty of putting the parts in a bag that's the right size. You see some kits, they come in massive bags that's all rattling around in there, or it's chucked in a box and the whole bag is rattling around inside the box. So yeah, this is all done with bubble wrap and everything, really nicely packaged, and yeah, really glad I got this. So let's have a look at this Photo-Etch. Okay then guys, this is one of the Photo-Etch sheets. There's 2 sheets carrying a total of what I've counted as 122 parts. Now it could be 120, it could be 124, but I've counted 122. But as you can imagine, counting these sheets is not always the easiest of tasks. On a bit of a funny angle here because of the glare from the light. Reviewing P is always a bit of an issue because of the light, but if you watch my video yesterday, you know I've got a new light which is making life a lot easier. So basically on here I was wrong when I said two things I've been wrong. When I mentioned the size of the box, I was thinking these were 10mm squares. They're not, they're ½ inch. So I was wrong on the size of the box. So let me just clarify that now. The box is actually 220 by 150. Okay, and there's 2 sheets of P, they're both about 140mm square, and as I said, there's 122 parts in here. I originally said that I thought these were the grills that wrap around the command service module. They're not. These are actually these run down the length of the conduits, down the length of the rocket body. So you've got 6 of them here, and they actually go over the plastic parts, and then the ends are here, so you shape the ends and they go over as well. And it says in the instructions if you need to sand the plastic parts, then do so and just remove some material. So, and you can see here, it's shown it in the instructions, you've got P7, which is these end parts here, and then we've got 4, 5 and 6 going upwards, and you've got 4, 5 and 6, and it's telling us the right side of parts 4, 5 and 6 on PE sheets represent down. So this is down. So when you actually cut these off the fret, perhaps put an arrow on the back so you know what you're doing, so you know which way they're going. So that's going to add a lot of interest to the model, especially if you give it a, you know, like a little wash just to bring the detail out. And what I'll do is when I build it, I'll show you how I roll these up and everything. I may actually anneal them because they've actually got some backing. They don't need to be particularly strong, so I may anneal them, which will make them really soft, and they'll just form over the plastic part easily. So that's those bits. Then we've got these 4 parts across the top. These are actually, if you look at your references, there's actually in the bottom of those shrouds that go around the engines that are on the bottom of stage 1, these are the frames that go in and support them, because obviously those shrouds would have just been a very, very thin sheet of, I don't know, a pneumonic material or aluminium or whatever, something very light, maybe titanium, and these actually support that area, so there's adding a lot of detail there. Now I think all these little parts here are like umbilical connections for when it's connecting into the tower. I could be wrong, but there's all sorts of grills and parts, and there's a panel there, and you can see we've got these legs on these parts here. They almost look like chips, don't they? They actually fold over and go in between the ribs on the parts. So as you can see in the instructions here, we fold them over and they go between the ribs. Okay, so that's all fairly straightforward. And then you've got these parts here, which form a sort of a channel, which I'll show you in a second. So yeah, all very, very nice, beautifully etched, fairly thin. How thick is the sheet? I'm guessing it's 0.1. 0.14, 0.15, so it's 6 thou thick. So yeah, pretty thin. So it's going to be nice and easy to work with. And there's a little bit of rolling, a little bit of folding. You can see it's also double etched on the back side as well, which is a nice touch. And oh, these here, these are the vents that you fold up and fold around, and they go into those scallops that I showed you in the sides of the new resin fairings. So let's give you a close-up look around this, trying to avoid the glare. You can see there it's all beautifully done. You've got lovely little end connectors on that framework in there. I've got those, I'm sure they're umbilical connections. I wish I knew my subject better for you guys, but hey, it's good to talk, it's good to learn. So there we go, that's that sheet. So I'll put that one up there. And then the second sheet, it's another 140mm square, and this one's got again a lot of very small parts which go all over the model. One of my favourite features on here are these 2 parts here, which I think are antenna for the command service module. I think I'll have a look at the instructions in a minute. We'll have a look. But we've got again all these little parts here, which I believe are it's very reflective, this one. In fact, you'll probably see my face if I get it right on the right angle. You can definitely see my hand waving. There you go. These parts here, these are the frames that go around the doors on the SLA. Can you please tell me what that stands for? But that's basically the cone that opens up and where the lunar module is contained. But these are actually the frames around those doors, so that's a nice touch. I may see if I can do something like this on my 144th, because if you've seen that part yet, which you won't have done, actually I've sanded all that flush and got it all fitting lovely now. These are the vents I was talking about. These are what I thought was the radio, which I thought these things were. These are them that go around. So, but as you say, I've got the real space, so I may not use them. But if you don't have the real space, you've got those there, you've got the hatch there, and there's some other bits and pieces that go around the windows, and these parts go around the back. And yeah, they're all bits that are actually either missing or completely incorrect on the Revell kit. The Revell kit is actually the command service module is completely incorrect. The command module is very, very simplistic, and it's completely missing the boost cover. So the BPC boost protection cover. So yeah, if you want to build an accurate model, you need to get this and the real space, or just this, or just get the real space. But you could get this set and completely modify your existing kit parts. But I'm kind of hoping that those are the antenna, because on the real space model you have to use the Revell plastic parts for the high gain antenna, and they're alright, but I prefer them in Photo-Etch, to be honest. And if it isn't in this set, that'll be a little bit of a disappointment, but we'll have a look. So yeah, and again we've got all the parts going round, and I'll just show you up close, try and get the light correct, so you can see the fine etch detail on them. And obviously this sheet is a lot more spread out than the other sheet. It's very simplistic. And I think I said, didn't I, counted 122 PE parts, and I counted 87 resin. So that means a total of 209. Okay. So you've got that hatch there, which is nice. And again, as I say, if you're not getting the real space resin set, then this is pretty much a must for you. And there we go. So now we've looked at all the parts, let's have a look at the instructions. Okay, so as mentioned before, we've basically got two A4 sheets printed on both sides, and very, very simple, very straightforward, black and white, but everything you need is here, all the information you need. And I would suggest, certainly I will anyway, is go through this and study it and make sure you understand. And the beauty of the way he's done this is he's covered it step by step, stage by stage, should I say. So basically stage 1 is part 1 of the instructions, and part 2. Yeah, so you've got stage 1, part 2, stage 1, part 1. So basically these two sections will get you through stage 1. And you can concentrate on that, get your Photo-Etch parts off, whatever. You know where they're all going to go, you know where everything needs to be, you can get your resin parts off their pour blocks all cleaned up and everything, and then you're basically treating stage 1 as a model kit in itself. So that's a nicely laid out way of doing things, rather than darting between bits and pieces everywhere. So you're basically retaining all the Revell parts, the Revell parts should I say, not Revell. You're basically retaining all the Revell parts, except for little pieces like when you see here, replaces Revell's part number 7, some modifications of Revell's part number 6 are needed. So let's have a quick look. So what I'm going to do, I've got the Revell instructions here that we can go through. So it's basically saying that we need to, so this is the base plate. So resin part 31, it replaces the Revell part number 7. So this is the Revell part number 7. This is the base plate for the engines. So that's that. And then it says part 6. Some modifications of Revell's part 6 are needed. So if we look in the instructions, let's see if we can find part 6. Probably best to look through the sprue callouts. Right, with part 6 are these tanks. So looking here, there we go. Part 6 is obviously G6. So the modification to this is probably going to be a bit of drilling or something. And what it's showing, this is the actual mounting that the engine mounts on, and goes into this area, onto the bulkhead. So they're telling you have to make some modifications. So it's probably going to be drilling because the lugs on here were bigger or something. I do seem to remember, if you look back a few couple of minutes, when I was comparing the resin and plastic base plates, the plastic part had a small pin on the outer area, and the resin part had a bigger lug. So obviously the hole in part 6 will probably be too small. but it's going to be something straightforward anyway. So so there we go, that's that bit taken care of. It says make holes for these parts in Revell's part number 9. So this is part number 9, so part number 9 is going to be the lower section, the lower part of stage 1. So it's all pretty self-explanatory really, but I would suggest, as I say, going through this, going through the instructions, going through your parts, and really get to know everything and where it's all going, and check, you know, like it's showing down here parts 18 and parts 64, which is so nice to see what he's done. You've got this tiny little conduit here, which is going to be a section going up the side, and what this is, rather than trying to fold tiny flanges up on the edge, he's made it in 3 separate parts. So you could always just put the backing on and then super glue the 2 edges on, or you could make it up as solder it all together and then glue it on as one, which is probably what I'll do. And but yeah, it's nice to see that he's done that, because folding a tiny little edge up on Photo-Etch is often quite awkward. So so there we go, that's step 1, and basically these here, 17, 14 and 9, these are the plastic rings that you get in the part that go either side of the roll around plastic sheeting. So that's what there, he hasn't actually shown, the gaps in here are where that rolled plastic sheeting go. These are only the actual injection molded parts, and as I say, you've got this huge long conduit down here that you get the Photo-Etch to go over, and he explains all that here. Here are those grills I showed you. You have to bend them up and get them, it says make exact holes in part R1. Now the holes are already there, so maybe he's saying clean them up, or maybe they never used to be there, and then you have to scribe a line around there, or just paint underneath that line, level the top of those grills. That's going to be a metallic colour, this half white, this half black, so he's giving you paint codes all the way through. And the actual fins themselves, they're metal colour as well. So and this over here is just explaining how to make up these, which I went through before. Sand off excess plastic, attach to S1 body, attach parts P7. So parts P7 is going to be rolled over and then glued on after you've put the main conduit on. So they're going to look quite stunning actually. So you've got a P7 at each end, so it's going to look really nice, really good. So now we're moving on to stage 2, and it's just more of the same really. You've got your Photo-Etch panels going on here, and they're painted red. Again, I do remember I had a quick look through the photographs on the CD, and they are actually shown on there, so you can see where they go on there. One of the most difficult parts of this conversion is a correction on the parts. Is this ring here, you need to remove, let me grab the ring and I'll show you. Okay, so here's the part here, and what you need to do is shorten to this line, so you need to measure up in scale on there. I think it's about 13 millimeters, but basically you need to mark a line around there and then get rid of all the corrugations up to that line. Now I'm fortunate, I've got a lathe, so I'll probably use my lathe to do that. I'll probably make up something that I could just press this onto and then turn it to remove them. If you haven't got a lathe, probably the best thing to do is determine where the line's going to be, lay it down on something flat like this, get a scriber or something, turn the part, scribe the lines so it's nice and parallel, and then using a knife shave away the ribs till they're sort of pretty much gone. Perhaps give it a little coat of some dark paint, you know, like you see me use my matte green a lot and matte black, and just go over it and just sand away until it's all smooth. So basically, yeah, what they've done, Revell have got the ribs going all the way down to the end, and you need to cut them short and just end up with a plain diameter. As I say, check your references, look at your photographs. You've got the CD with this model, with this set, sorry, and that'll show you. Something else I've noticed, there is a small error in the instructions, some small errors. I don't know if Revell have changed their part numbering system, they could well have done. but basically Tom's calling it Revell part number 14 here, but he's also calling Revell part 14 there, so that's actually incorrect. That's not part 14, that is still this part, so it's that way up. Sorry, so you're removing material from here, not that end. And this is basically the interstage here, so that's 2.2, and this is actually part 2.7. You can see on here 2.7. You would think that 2.7 would mean stage 2.7, but it's not. Part 1 is also in other areas as well. So I don't know what they're doing with this part numbering systems. So yeah, so you need to remove the material from there, not there. Sorry, not from that end, from this end. It's that way up. This is where the engines go. So we're removing some material from there, and then we're going to fit these parts around the outside. And we've got these in resin rather than using the plastic parts. The plastic parts are probably very simplistic. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, here we go. If you look in the instructions, it's telling you this is the interstage. You're fitting 8 of these ullage motors here. So you've got 8 times C1, and then when we go over the page, we've got the lower end of C2. Stage 2, sorry, and it's telling us to fit these parts C8 around the outside. You won't believe your eyes, guys. This is C8 in the kit. This is part C number 8. Yeah, these are the parts that go around the outside of here, like so. There's your resin equivalents. So little bit of a difference there, guys. Just to, nearly double the length, double the height and double the width, and a completely different shape. On the interstage here, you've got these rocket motors. There's 8 of them in the kit. Tom's saying you only need 4. We can check our references. And this is what we get in the resin set. So again, you can see there's quite a difference there. And when you look at them end on, they look a lot more accurate, don't they? So yeah, I think this set is pretty much if you're not a rivet counter, but you like to build things accurately, I think this set is a must for you. And then we've got all of the other pieces that go around here as well. So this is dragging on, guys. I need to speed up. Okay, so there's a note down here: form parts 19, 23, 20, similar ways to 9 and 11 in step 1. So obviously you've got all these parts here have got to go into ribs, so you're forming them the same, and they're going to look lovely. What I would suggest is perhaps get them in, go around with some Mr. Surfacer, just to sort of fill in any gaps, and have a look at your references. If it's actually a blended in form panel, then blend it in with some alcohol and make it all smooth. If it's actually a bolted on panel that has an edge, put the Mr. Surfacer in there, go around with the alcohol and really work in it, and then you'll get that edge, but you won't get any gaps, and it'll look like it's part of it rather than, a stuck on piece of Photo-Etch, which is what it really is. So let's have a look at the second page. And here we go, more of the same again, and this is where we're going to add a load of detail to here. You can see the kit is quite simplistic, and we're going to add all these parts in here. There's a lot more work you can do. You can add a lot of wiring and stuff. There's lots of reference pictures of this area. The 144 scale kit is a total mess in that area, but yeah, you can really go to town on this and make it look great. And then perhaps you might want to display this model laid out like the one at NASA, at Kennedy Space Center, and then you can lay it out, and it'll all look absolutely beautiful, all its bits and pieces, which is something I'm considering. Although I would like to put this on a LUT, but with all this detail added, it may be better to have it laid out flat and get an LUT for this one. So we'll see. Okay, so going on from there, this is the bottom now, top of stage 2, bottom of stage 3, and this is the cone part, and we're going to be adding these 4 little fairings onto here. They're already moulded on the kit, but I'm not sure what they're like. Let's have a quick look. And here they are. They're already moulded on there, but there's obviously something wrong with them. I would say they're probably not defined enough. They just look like lumps. They should be sort of hooked over. Maybe they are too small as well. Maybe they're too short. But obviously there's a reason they've put them in there. So that's those. And then we've got all this work around here on stage 3. At the top here, it's a little bit misleading, perhaps. It says here part number 41. Part number 41 is actually that part there, which is what the lunar module sits on. So part 41 is actually the first part of the cone that goes up to the CSM. So worth bearing that in mind. And then all of this here, I'm not quite sure. We've got it's telling us to use the Revell's part number 3, but if we go back in the instructions, where are we? Here we are. This is the bottom of stage 3, and this is where the motor goes, so it's upside down if you like. And what it's telling us is to use Revell's part number 3 2 times. It's actually B33 in here, so I don't really know what's going on there. So obviously they're okay, but the ullage motors here, they're replacing those with resin. So you've got resin to replace them. And then I'm not sure about these bits here, because sometimes you'll see that with Edard and stuff, it'll say replace kit part 27 or whatever, and in some places on here it says that, but in other places it doesn't. Like here it doesn't say replace them, but you are replacing them, because obviously the kit parts are pretty awful. So I'm not sure about these bits like 4 and 5. They may be this 26 and 22, I'm not sure, maybe even 21. So when we come to the build, we'll look at that then. But I'm conscious this is becoming a very long review, and I need to move along. And also here we've got Revell's part number 2, it's actually 3.2, and it says 10, and this is actually 3.10. So there does seem to be a theme with the stages, but it didn't seem to follow all the way through. And then this is the basically the top of stage 3, if you like, the SLA. This is where the lunar module sits, and then you've got all these bits of photo etch going on there to really sort of bring that to life and add some detail to what is basically just a cone. You can see here is the photo etch parts, the frames that go around the doors. I may try and do something like this now on my 144th. Now that I've got this as a reference, I may do something on the 144th to try and liven that up a bit, because it is basic. It's very, very simple. And then moving on here, we've got the command module and the command service module. And as I say, we've got all these grills here, so if you want to remove all the detail from the kit parts and add these grills, it will be a closer representation of a block 2 command service module for you. And then you've also got a lot of pieces here to add onto the command module itself, which I showed you earlier in the photo etch section. And yeah, you can really bring it to life, or just don't worry about any of that and get the realspace.com, realspacemodels.com set like I showed you yesterday, which is very, very cheap, or get the Real Space one and add this photo etch to it. It's take your, you pay your money, you take your choice. The only thing I am a little disappointed in, I wish there were photo etch details in here for the docking area, and I wish there were photo etch antenna for the for the back of the service module. So if you wanted to display it, you know, in free flight, then or in air, you know, in flight, then you could have those folded up and looking lovely. So yeah, a little bit disappointed, but the thing is, this whole set is about building a complete and accurate model of a Saturn V, and you can build any of the versions from it, any of the missions from it, should I say. So you know, you may just want to have this stood on a LUT and put all the external detail on, in which case you wouldn't bother with a lot of this here. Or you may decide to have it displayed like the Saturn V is at Kennedy Space Center. I don't know, but anyway, enough waffling. Let's have a look at these decals. Okay, so this is the decal set that you get actually in the kit. In NW008 you get the decal set, which is cool. If you are watching this as a review of the NW008 set from Ware, then this is obviously part of the video, but I'm going to edit this and make it into a separate video so that we get a review, because this set is actually sold separately as NWD006. So I'm going to do a separate review for the decals, but obviously it will form part of this review. So if you're watching this one, you don't need to go and watch that one, just ignore it. So what do we get in this set? This is NWD006, and this is the set of decals for the Revell 196 scale Apollo Saturn 5 kit from Revell. And if you actually look at the decals or the decals you get in the kit, here it is. Here's the massive sheet, and as you can see, not really a lot there, and you only get the option to do Apollo 11, but I think the kit is actually incorrect for Apollo 11 anyway. So the other thing I'm going to look at here in a comparison is when you do get this kit, you get these sheets of styrene which you roll to make into the sections of the rocket, like this. And so these are pre-printed. Now there is a big issue with this, which I hadn't thought of, but one of my subscribers told me about. As we all know, white plastic, if left, turns yellow. So I can't pick these up. So basically, if you're building this model and you use these as they are, and you roll them up and have them displayed like that, you paint the rest of your model white and everything, and it's all sat there and looking lovely. After a while, these will turn yellow, as will the white kit parts if you don't paint them. So it's really nice to think you can get this set, use these inside out, or just remove all this. I'm sure that with alcohol these will just rub off, and then you can paint it all, prime it all, paint it all, and then use the decals that you get in this set. And of course the other thing to remember is when we do the comparisons, you'll see that all of this is incorrect anyway. So, you know, depending how fussy you are and how accurate you want your model to be, let's have a look at that in a second. But first of all, let's just go through the instructions here. They're quite complex and quite involved, and the beauty of this here is it's giving you all this information about which Apollo mission you want to do. Now, I saw Apollo 13 go up, so obviously I'm going to do Apollo 13. So that's AS508, referred to in here as SA508. So I don't know if it's a typo or what, I don't understand all that. But so the S1C stage is going to be number 8. So if we look at the decal sheet, we get all our different S1C decals, so we can actually have the correct stage 1 markings for the mission we want to cover. And it does all the way from Apollo 4 up to Skylab 1. So that's pretty cool. There's also some other differences in those actual missions that are depicted in this instruction sheet, and also in the NW008 instruction sheet, and you get the alternative parts to enable you to build the model that you wish to do. So basically we've got some painting guides here, black, white and metallic, and this is the correct Block 2 command service module, and you can see we've got a lot of decals to go on here, lots and lots of little stencils and everything that you're not getting in the Revell kit. And you've also got all these decals to go onto the command module, but if you are building your model in a stack, it's a shame because all that will be covered up by the BPC, but never mind. And as a matter of interest, the command service module in the Revell kit is actually incorrect. It's a block 1. It doesn't have this configuration events and everything, so you would need to sand all that off, get the NW008 set to add the Photo-Etch, or you can go to realspacemodels.com and buy the resin upgrade set, which I've also reviewed, which gives you the correct features on the command service module for block 2, and it also gives you a lot more detail on the command module as well. So enough of my sales pitch there. And then going over the page, we've got stages 1 and 2, even got a scale on there, which is cool. So it's giving you a painting guide, fin C. So if you look at the instructions, if you look at my review for the actual upgrade set NW008, C center line goes up through there, and it shows you that in the instructions all the way through. So we've got decals going on over here, and it's telling us where they all go. Not quite sure what that is. Not quite sure what that's telling us. Maybe that's just saying it's a center line, I don't know, but yeah, we've got decals with that image on them, so maybe that's just, I don't know. Well, I'll work that out. You can work that out. You can tell me if you know. So we've got all the part numbers depicted here. Be careful, some of these part numbers on the instructions were incorrect. I've got a feeling that Revell may have changed their part numbering system from, because the kit is like 50 odd years old. So and it's telling you on here, SA 501, 502 was 8 ullage rockets, 503 to 509 is 4, and then SA 510 and 513 was none. So basically, if you're building Apollo 16, 17 or Skylab, there's no ullage rockets. So what you could do, if you've got that NW008 set, you could give your ullage rockets to a friend, and then they can build 501 or 502, because you only get 4 ullage rockets in that set. And if you remember, in my 144 scale build, I was questioning those 8 rockets, and I was actually right to question them, because they're in fact incorrect for an Apollo 11. So yeah, interesting. So anyway, I'm waffling again. So we go all the way down here, and we got all our decals marked out that we use. Again, we've got our stencil markings here, and it shows us here that we've got the high position and the low position. So it even goes into detail with that. So basically, if you look over here, it's showing you that if you're doing Apollo 13, for example, like I am, the actual position of the serial numbers is high. USA type is 2, and the IU white panel is both. I'll show you that now. So the USA type here is type 1, it's showing you there, and then you've also got type 2. So if we go to the decals here, we've got B6 and B7. So B7 is type 1 and B6 is type 2. And you can see there the difference is in the S. The S on here is a curve, and on there it's actually it's more straight. So that's fantastic, they're giving you that detail. But also, when we compare this to the actual plastic parts you get with the kit, there's a bit of a difference there, huh? Just a bit. And then when we get to the United States bit, you can see there's also a difference there with the way they're printed. The U and the S, you can see, are a totally different shape. This is just curved. This has got the, and the D, this is more like sort of two-dimensional rather than having all these curves and everything. Obviously this USA here is not in the decal sheet. Maybe it's not correct, I don't know. Maybe it's not even supposed to be on there. I'm sure if it was, it would be in the set. And then we've got these American flags, which are here, and we've got these here. So it looks like the kit flags are slightly small. They're also not very defined, so these will be a great improvement. But also you'll notice that you get 2 sets, and there's a slightly different colour on the stars and bars there, so you have to look at your references, I guess, and choose which one you want to use. So yeah, get this decal set. Not only do you get to actually paint your model and not use all these stupid pre-printed things, but you're also accurizing your model as well. So that's a good thing. There doesn't seem to be any mention of these different types of stars and bars here, but you're also getting the different types down here as well that you get on the decal sheet. Here you get 2 there. That's it, there's no more. On here you're getting 4. So I think they're for the command service module, aren't they, or for the command module. So yeah, nice touch. And then on the fairings here we've got a little decals going on the bottom. So yeah, nice. And then for our last page, we've got the stage 3, which is known as S4. And we've got all these sway target markings not used on SA 513, so not used on Skylab, but we've got all those markings there in our set. No, we don't actually have those in the set. but we've actually got them in the Revell, so I'm guessing you use them from there. You've also got the replacement ABCD here for the fins, which are different. They're more bold and slightly smaller, so obviously they're incorrect as well. And you've also got the stage markings here, if they're stage markings, and they're actually different as well. They're a lot more refined than the kit decals, and also those United States decals, they are much smaller. So yeah, and all these tiny little stencils, very, very nice. I didn't see what these were for. Maybe they go in the stage 2. I don't know. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to leave that review there. So basically what you're getting is a beautiful sheet of decals. They're fairly glossy, they look very thin. There's no manufacturer's marks on them or anything, so I don't know who makes them. They're probably made in the USA, but I have read that they go on beautifully. Probably best to choose, to start with, choose which USA you're not going to use, cut them out, perhaps cut them into sections and try your different setting solutions on them, rather than go and ruin one of the decals you've only got one of. You know, you need to be careful, because some of the setting solutions these days are very, very strong and they will destroy some decals. But on the other hand, some decals are very, very tough and need a really, really strong setting solution to get them going. So it's best to do a little test sample first before you commit to your model. But yeah, very interesting to see these little bits and pieces on here. They are really, really lovely. And I'm just looking for, because it says on here B16 and B17, and I can't see, oh, there's B17. B16 is, so B17 is just literally a stencil. I wonder if they mean B18, because I can't see B16 on here. You probably can, and you're probably shouting at the camera right now. But yeah, they probably mean B18 because it's got repeat on opposite side. It looks like that, so it's another stencil that's going to go vertically. But if you could tell me, guys, something I don't understand, I don't get, is what they're doing here. They're showing here this 2 is going there, then you've got the 3 is going there. I don't understand what they're actually... You've got another 3 there. So we've only got 1 3. So I don't understand quite exactly what's going on here. B10 is that one, so that's going to go up there, which is nice. B8, come down here, we've got these little B3s. Oh, okay, these little yellow B3s go around here, and there's probably more on other stages as well, because we've got a lot of them. So there's B3 is in the white and the black, and we've got how many? We've got lots of them. So anyway, so that's basically your decal set from New Ware, and very, very nice indeed. Available direct from New Ware. This is the HTTP address, but if you just go into Google and put in New Ware, it will come up, and then you can look at their range of stuff. They have a massive range of things, upgrade sets, kits, everything. Go and have a look. I've also ordered the all the parts and all the upgrades for the 32nd scale command service module, so I'll have a review of that coming up soon. He is quite busy at the moment, but yeah, drop him a line, drop him an email. The way it works, you see what you want, you send him an email, he'll send you a PayPal request or some other means of payment. And yeah, I ordered this last week. It was sent out on Monday and it's arrived today, Friday. So yeah, I'm more than happy. Okay then, guys, so there we go. This has been a review of the New Ware NW008 upgrade set for the Revell 196 Saturn V. And as you can see, there's a lot in the set. You can get it direct from Ware. The cost is $109 plus $14 shipping and handling. It's sent registered airmail. So yeah, I mean, it's for what it costs. I think it's great because you're getting all the resin, all the photo etch, and all the decals for $109. If you're not going to get the realspacemodels.com resin CSM that I showed you in a review yesterday, for an extra $10, which makes this set $119, you'll get the vacuum formed blast protection cover as well. So, which I showed you in that set. It's exactly the same part. So you can then use your kit parts, the photo etch parts, the decals, that cover, and build up an assembled model, or just get the set like I've got without that and get the Real Space set as well. So that's basically that. If you just want to get the decals on their own, they're $11 plus $7 shipping, which again is extremely reasonable for what you're getting. And as I say, it enables you to paint that horrible pre-printed polystyrene sheet that you get in the kit, and remember, as I said, it's going to go yellow if you don't paint it. So great little set, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I'm sorry it's taken so long, but there's a lot to show you and there's a lot of explaining to do. Even if you're an experienced modeler, there's a lot to learn from this, and I'm going to really enjoy this because it's such a learning exercise for me, as well as educating myself on how it all worked. I need to educate myself on what all these bits are, what they do, and where they are and where they go, and what bits they replace and what you have to remove on the kit, and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I'll be doing a build of this online, so watch this space. And thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and go get yourself some. It's brilliant. It's really, really nice. So bye for now.